to another episode of Women's Wellness Expert Series. And today I have a very special woman. She is the founder of Holistic Healers of OC, and she is a Reiki master teacher expert. So we have a lot to share. Thank you, Emily, for being here.
My honor, seriously, Anne. I'm just so excited to be here and having this conversation with you today. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, I think when we first met at your monthly events, which I am so grateful, and I had no idea there actually was a holistic healers community in Orange County until a mutual friend of ours, Yana Hungate, she referred me to you, and I was just thrilled that there's actually a place for healers, for us to actually gather and just share maybe some of the things that we are experiencing, what can help each other as well as support our businesses.
Oh my gosh, it is. Yeah, I still have you in my phone, Anne, as Yana's friend. It still shows up. So I'm so grateful always for these beautiful connections. And it was just like such a cool collision of like-minded energy when I met you and hearing about what you're doing with Women's Wellness That Works, and just such a lovely connection. I remember you and I would kind of like, I'd be having you let me use your phone to take pictures because I was recording and all this, like just kind of behind this. You just jumped right in and fit right in with everyone.
You had your energy is not had, but when I met you, I instantly felt this calmness about you, just this genuine caring and compassion for everyone. And I was just, just beautiful. And you just have this soothing aura about you. So I was just instantly connected to you, and I can see why people are drawn to you and why your community of healers has grown tremendously. How many members do you have?
It is. So we've got over 1,100 people in our Facebook group. This is a vetted group, where it's like you do need to be a holistic healer to join. And we did used to, back when you first started coming, used to be only Orange County. I kept getting all these other requests though. And so this group, like you said, is just organically grown. And now we have people in 3 different states. We're all over Southern California and Northern California. So we've got that beautiful resource that's available. And it is such a special place. I feel so honored to be able to do this work. And I don't know how the stars align for me, but I'm just grateful to be in that position. And I know for something that I just really appreciate about life is that I've been given this ability to see people for who they are and to really just hold this space, this beautiful, just compassionate and open, judgment-free zone space that's very heart-centered. And I think that I do draw people that are similar, right? And so this like-mindedness where we get to create this beautiful heart-centered space is just gorgeous. And I am so honored to be doing that work.
Well, you are definitely, I would say, the perfect person for this group, because you definitely draw in and attract all the healers, not only in Orange County, but like you said, all over the world now. So, it's been very successful, and you have events also, and you have a membership. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that's what we've kind of grown into. It just organically, I had been doing this for almost 3 years, just out of the goodness of my heart. And it got to that point where between this and then my other business that I run, I was like, okay, I gotta either like abandon ship or I gotta go all in and get some more fuel that can sustain this, So I did create the membership. I did a bunch of research. I met with over 3 dozen of our members that had been regularly attending and asked them what it was about their healing business that they needed support and help with. And so out of that grew the membership. So we do have a membership of almost 100 people. And this is a lot more kind of fine-tuned, a lot more value that's being added. And it now does include those monthly meetings. There's a virtual one, there's an in-person one, and we do plan on having other chapters in different places. And there's just so many fun things. I won't get into all the details, but yeah, the membership is packed full of a lot of value to help people grow their healing businesses through authentic connections and aligned community. That's the whole purpose of it, because I really believe with my business and marketing background and all of that, the one thing, and I think for everyone that I hear echoed, is connections, right? It's who you know, it's the networking, it's the relationships. And so that's what I have stood behind 150,000%, you know, that it's the authentic connections with the right people in an aligned community that's going to really help us to grow our healing business and be able to do the thing that we are passionate about as healers. You know, we want to do the work and not get caught up in all the mumbo jumbo about business.
And healers need self-care, probably more so just because we're expending our energy on a daily basis, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
Support from the other healers to help other in our self-care really is important.
Yeah. And, you know, coming from like a corporate background and then moving into the healer space, I had so many expectations for our space to be more loving, compassionate, all of this open-heartedness. But I found that there is humans are humans, right? And so there is a divide where it's like, oh, this is mine over here. And I, you know, don't want to share and don't want to, you know, give my secrets away, this kind of like corporate mentality. But I just have opened the door wide open and said, no, we are all healers. This is what we're meant for. And this is what we need to be sharing, like you said, like supporting each other, lifting each other up. So even though there's other people that do the same thing as you, well, there's a lot of different ways to get to the top of the mountain, and people need to feel connected with who they're working with when it's such a personal service that they're receiving. So there's enough for everyone. Abundance is plentiful in our space.
So you mentioned about your corporate background. So can you share a little bit about your professional background and how you got started?
Oh yeah, totally. I'm the little girl that grew up playing business. I used to order my poor little sister around, like staple this and file this. You know, I knew I wanted to be like a successful businesswoman when I grew up. And so I did kind of go that route. I started down my career. I was in sales and marketing as an account executive, you know, wining and dining clients and doing all this fun high level entertainment stuff, which was really a cool experience. However, I was not really happy. And so what ended up happening,
somehow that doesn't seem like you now.
I know. It was like a little cutthroat. It was very competitive. And it was like, you know, I would just kind of like rally myself up and go do the things. But yeah, as I kind of moved through that and realized I was really not happy, I had an experience with a therapist, because at the time I was in a relationship that was failing. Let's be honest, it was failing, and we had to go to therapy. Grateful that I did, because I met this therapist who really made an impact. And I thought to myself, if I could go do that and make an impact like she made in my life, because I continued on with her in individual therapy, long after the relationship ended, that's what I knew that I wanted to do. So I quit my job and I went back to school to become a therapist. And it was a very huge like 180 from where I was. But I loved every single class that I took. I knew I was like in the right place. I just was lit up all the time about my classes. And even though I was like the oldest student in the class and all of that fun stuff, but
that's
kind of where my whole path shifted and turned towards holistic.
She inspired you because how she helped you, you know, heal through a difficult relationship, and then you also became a therapist.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. That's a great testimony to her and what she.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I write her cards every once in a while and just thank her and remind her how grateful I am that she was where she was when she was, and so inspiring to me.
So you became a therapist, and then you're also a Reiki master teacher. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So that was kind of it's interesting how all these things kind of started coming together with the holistic health and wellness, which is where I really, you know, stand in today. So I grew up, I have to kind of give you a history on this one of how this turned out the way it did, because first of all, I was raised in a really high demand religion. So I loved my faith. I loved my church. It was a big part of my family. My family is 7th generation in this religion. Wow. And so it was a very important part of our culture, my family upbringing. But as I got into my later teen years, I started having questions. I started doubting things. I started going through a faith crisis, and I lost my religion, right? So I went through this big loss. It was like a huge heartache. And not only that, as far as my beliefs went, but it was also my community. It was also the people, because now I didn't belong anymore. And now I was an outcast. There was really no middle ground in this space. It was like you're either in or you're out. And it was just a heartbreaking, very devastating, challenging time. And all of this kind of culminating at the end of my past marriage relationship that I had been trying to save and trying to figure out. And so this was a really painful time, and it was very difficult for me to try and find any sort of spirituality again. But I was the kind of kid I was all in. I believed, I had a strong like testimony in this church that I had been raised in. And so spirituality was important to me. So I started trying to dip my toe a little bit in other kinds of teachings, Buddhism. I went to Catholic church. I went to all sorts of different churches to try and kind of find my way. And none of them were really making sense to me. And I remember reading this book. I don't know if you've heard of it, Anne. It's called Positive Energy by Judith Orloff. It's kind of an older book. A friend of mine actually gave it to me, Cindy Berg. She had given me this book for my birthday one year, and I read it, and it was like everything clicked. It's all energy. That's all it is. It doesn't disappear. It stays. It's always present. It just changes form. And so this is what really started me down this pathway to opening up a little bit of faith, a little bit of trust again in something that is non-physical, right? Something that is not seen. So fast forward, I eventually found my way to a Reiki class that I was taking from Anne Reith, who the reason I found her was because of my graduate program in becoming a therapist. Yeah. So these pathways start to kind of segue. So I had an assignment in my program that said, go find someone who's a professional that you are really interested in what they're doing. So I found Anne Reith, and she was a retired, by choice, tenured psychology professor. She had like 30 years, I think, on at the college, and she, in her, I think it was her mid-40s, she ended up leaving her tenured position to start this metaphysical kind of spiritual wellness center that she ran. Yeah. Wow. So I got to interview her. So I went and interviewed her for my project, and then just was like, okay, I can start taking this class. And what really stood out for me with her teaching and why it resonated so deeply was this permission that she gave to explore. And if it's not for me, it's okay. Like, you don't have to believe everything I say. I'm the teacher, but you don't have to believe and agree with everything I say. And that freedom meant a lot to me with my kind of coming out of the shell and trying to trust and have faith again. Yeah. So that was kind of my journey to get over to Reiki. It was kind of a long one.
But it's amazing, the connection. Again, you said about, you're going to therapy after, and then you meet now your mentor in Reiki. So now you've evolved yourself and you've immersed yourself in all these other different spirituality, modalities and things like that. So then Reiki you just knew because of the energy work that you learned.
Yeah. And I think I was having at the time, I mean, it's back in 2009, I believe, is when I first took my Reiki class. It's been a long time since I've been a Reiki practitioner. So I don't think it was this major, we always are looking for these like, being hit over the head experiences of like, yes, this is the way, this is the thing to do. And oftentimes energy or spirit, source, God, whatever you want to call it, is more subtle than that. And so it's just more of this little nudging of like, go here, try this, like, go this way, and start building that trust. And that's really a lot about what Reiki is building that trust in the energy. But yeah, that was definitely an opening up into my spirituality. So I had the mental health aspect going, I had the spiritual, and then I met, I began working out, and then eventually, kind of ended up meeting my now partner, but because he's a personal trainer and all of this, but I had never done exercise. I grew up as a musician, and so I had never done exercise. So here I was doing the mental health, and then I started exercising, and I'm like, whoa, I feel so
the connection
amazing
with mind and body.
Yes, totally. And then being able to finally get back into my spirituality, it was like life was just blooming, and it was just opening up after what had been some challenging times.
It's amazing, you were going through this traumatic time in your life. When one door closes, all these other doors open for you. And
oh my gosh, yeah.
You had just, like your arms are open, your mind and heart are open, and all these opportunities had come your way, which is amazing. So let's say someone has never had a Reiki session. What would be the benefit of having a Reiki session?
Gosh, there's so many benefits of Reiki, and I'll just say also Reiki is not for everyone, right? But for the person who is curious about how to deepen their own spirituality, how to help themselves get a little bit more quiet. I mean, energy, oftentimes Reiki sessions, I often say, are like an energy massage. So if you're feeling like you have some stuck places, but there's this overlap that's beautiful because energy is everything, everywhere, all over, right? Is that, you know, with your energy, with Reiki, you're trying to increase the amount of energy, like universal life force energy. That's what Reiki kind of translates to. It's a Japanese kanji word. And so it's universal life force energy. And that is something that can either flow slowly and be stagnant and slow, where you're in like sick, depressed, tired, all of these kinds of lower vibration energies. And what we're trying to do is get up to those higher vibrations, the faster moving positive energy. And so what Reiki is meant to do, so myself as a Reiki practitioner, or anyone who's the Reiki practitioner, what we're doing is we're opening ourselves up to be a channel for the energy. So oftentimes it comes down through the top of your head, down through the meridians in your body. We have these pathways of energy to move in and out of our hands, the chakras in our hands. And so I'm acting as a conduit or a channel for that energy, so that energy can be really kind of moved through the person, and more energy kind of put into that person's physical space, but also energetic space. And so it's really for a good old clearing out. Reiki can be used for physical healing. It can be used for mental, emotional healing, spiritual healing. So it's a very complementary approach, and it's really neat to see. I mean, I've worked in treatment team with people who are in therapy, who are coming to get Reiki, and just the stories and the experiences that I've had where it gets things moving, it flows people through, it helps people move through things that have been stuck for a long time, traumas perhaps that are in their physical body, even like that book, Your Body Keeps the Score, right? Like we hold on to these things, and Reiki is a beautiful complementary modality to help you move things along.
Like you said, I think a person needs to be open to the session, because then you would receive the benefit. It would enhance the benefit more of the session if the person was more open.
That's a good point, Anne. I'm glad you said that, because I mean, it's interesting, because I kind of see Reiki as like active praying. So it's like, you think for someone who's a prayer, someone who prays, a prayer, not a prayer. For someone who's a prayer, they're going to pray, right? They're going to pray for this person. And whether or not this person over here is open to it, there still is a benefit to that person praying for them, potentially, right? And exactly. So, yes, I mean, the more open we all are to our own healing, you know, the more we're going to be able to create that change. We're all in charge of ourselves at the end of the day, right? And so you can come in and get a Reiki session and have all this amazing energy movement. But if you just keep going and doing all the things that cause you to get closed up again, and, you know, kind of cause those layers to keep coming on, it's not going to, you know, stay that way. So yes, the intention is really important, and it is a big part of it. But yet it also has benefit, even if someone was like, I don't believe in Reiki, right? I don't think that's a real thing.
Right. And they had a session and they're like, wow, oh my God,
right.
what is this?
Right.
So I had a session with you. I had a Reiki session with you, and I want to share my experience.
Oh, awesome.
Viewers about my experience. So I went in there with the intention of balancing my energies, my right and left side energy, my yin and yang, and male and female. And as you were, I mean, instantly, as you placed your energy on, I believe, the top of my head, I mean, I saw like colors. I see colors. And so purple was definitely a dark purple was there. But it was interesting, as you came down, I saw one side of my body was the left side, which was all dark, and then the right side was all white. And it was just that contrast of dark, black and white. Black, the yin and the yang, and how, you know, it wasn't connected or it wasn't blending. But as soon as we had the session, you know, that we're going through it, I could see the dark just slowly become lighter and lighter and lighter. And it was just amazing to see the transformation and the feeling, the energy, because I'm definitely, you know, sensitive to energy, and I could feel how strong you are, and really moving that energy through. So it was just, for me, a remarkable, again, reminder of how energy works and how it can definitely transform our bodies into lightness and, peace and serenity and calm and healing. And, we talked about some other chakras too that needed some opening, or some, needed a little bit more opening in those certain areas. But overall, again, it was just a wonderful session. So I believe in the power of energy. I believe that it is definitely the healing that we have within ourselves, but also as you being the conduit to allow us to heal and balance.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I really enjoyed
Absolutely.
doing that work with you. And it's so neat to hear how people experience it, right? Because everyone has their own experience. And then I have my experience while I'm working on people as well. And we talk about that afterwards. But it's something that you can also do for yourself too, right? Like you can, but it's the same as like, well, you can massage yourself, right? But does it feel as good as when you go and have someone else massage you? So but there's
I like to
self-care.
receive. I want to receive.
I know it's nice to just lay there and receive, but that's beautiful.
But yes, I believe it or not, I actually, when I went to holistic healer school 20 some years ago, I studied energy healing. And when I was going through all of my surgeries, and there's a thing, I don't know if they did a study on when you actually go under anesthesia and come out of it, it's almost what they call like a little death. So when you're under anesthesia, and I've been under anesthesia 9 times, every time I come out of it, there's just an awakening that comes out of me. I remember the first time I started writing affirmations, I had no idea where this is coming, whether it's coming from spirit or whatever. But I actually had energy in my hands, and I had gone through healing, professional healer school, and the master, he would have us rub our hands together, right? And then place it on each other. And he said I had just really strong hands and energy. So it was just amazing. And you definitely can heal your brain and your body with that energy anytime you want. You want to. So it is
like what you were saying, that self-care, right? That's so important. And I know sometimes that word is so, we hear it so much, it's like in one ear out the other, but it's really just being intentional about, what is it that I'm needing right now, like getting still with yourself. And maybe it is as simple as just kind of putting your own hands on your head for a little bit and just giving yourself some love and some energy.
As a mom, as a busy mom and busy entrepreneur, do you receive Reiki yourself? What does your self-care routine look like?
I know we've talked about this. I have, for those that are listening in, I mean, for context, I do have 3 boys, ages 10, 7, and 4 at the time of this recording, and they keep me busy. And it is, I say a lot that I'm trying to choose the words. My life is full rather than busy, because I love absolutely everything that I'm doing. I love being with my kids. I love being a baseball mom. I love my partner. We have such a great relationship. I have my business, Sage Holistic Health and Wellness Center, where I've got all the therapists and we're doing the work with therapy and Reiki, and then the holistic healers. I love all of it. And it is hard. I'm not going to lie and say like, oh, it comes easy for me. I mean, there's times I really feel like we're cyclical beings, right? There's always going to be some cycle. Where I'm at on that cycle kind of just depends on what's going on. But there are times when it gets like too much and it gets overwhelming, and I have to go back into the place of, for me, stillness. And that's kind of, where I'm at right now in my circle, and my upward spiral is like realizing I may be doing all these things that I love, and even with people that I love, but I need to find time alone. I need to find quiet time. And my favorite way to do that is going on hikes, it's like so rainy now for the whole weekend, but I love getting out on the dirt. That for me is just such a
connecting to nature.
To be.
Definitely connecting to it. nature and outdoor.
Connecting to nature by myself. There's just something about that. And then more recently, I have gotten into something called Hape, which is a plant medicine that's non-psychotropic. I'm a wuss when it comes to like anything like this.
Me too.
But I went to this I went to this ceremony. It was just this gorgeous ceremony that was put on by two friends of mine, that they are doing these kinds of ceremonies. And Hape is from the tribes in the Amazon, Peru, different areas, Brazil. And it's like tobacco ash and these other plants. And you actually, you have it gets blown through this instrument into your nostrils, which is a little bit uncomfortable, but it brings you into this state of connection with the earth. It is a very like spiritual experience, and it lasts only like 10 or 15 minutes, but you're kind of like in this space of just so much love, and it gets you into this meditative state. And it's been a really surprising addition into my self-care regime.
Where do you go to have this done?
Well, it's you can have it self-administered. Yeah. So there's the website, I think it's like Chakra Openings is the one that I've been using, and you can just purchase the little things, and you can incorporate that into your own. So that's been an interesting and surprising, like a year ago, I would have never thought this would be part of my self-care rituals, but there's that. And then for me, exercise and food is a really, really big way for me to take care of myself. And I'll tell you, like, I love exercise. I used to be a gym rat, like before kids. I love weights, and I finally learned how to do all this stuff. It's tough with the kids. And so I have to kind of like make myself do that so it doesn't feel like self-care, but at the end of the day, it's really so important. I call it my Prozac. I'm like, if I don't exercise, I'm in trouble. So yeah.
I always say self-care is an act of self-love. Whatever self-care you do for yourself, whether it just be sitting still, being still, or walking on the beach, walking outside, but just anything that you're doing for yourself is an act of self-love. So
yes, yeah. And I prefer that languaging too. I love that self-love for sure.
So I always say, I always say to my community, we're having self-love retreats or
I love it.
wellness event or something like that, because it is about us. And do you, as a mental therapist, also seek emotional health and well-being with other therapists?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I've always been participating. Like I said, when I first learned about it, and it's just been part of my journey. I mean, there'll be times when I take a little bit of a break, but I just find it for me, and again, not everyone, and this is about people finding what works for them, but I'm a verbal processor. Like, I feel better after I talk about it, and I want to talk about it in a space that is, compassionate, non-judgmental. Not that I'm saying I don't have friends or family that I can talk to in that way, but it's very different when you have this space. And just as a way to care for myself in the work that I do as a healer, right? As a holistic healer, we have more that we carry. And so we need to have those spaces. So I absolutely, utilize the merchandise the same that I do.
And it was interesting because I actually found your place, because I was seeking therapy, and I found holistic health. So it's not a coincidence that I ended up at your place.
I know. I mean, we could do a whole thing about how do you find these professionals, right? How do you find the people? But because I struggle with that too when I've gone to find therapists, especially because I am kind of known in the community, and you want to have that anonymity and that confidentiality. And so, it's important to find the person that you can connect with as a therapist. Not just take whoever's, on your insurance or whoever you call first. Like, you really want to look for that connection, because you do need to go into some really dark and hard places sometimes, and you need to feel like you can trust that person.
And the reason why I chose Sage Holistic Health is because I was looking for holistic therapy. It's more of a therapist versus a traditional psychologist. So that was my go-to. So can you share a little bit about Sage Holistic, because we didn't really discuss that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity. So this was something that I founded over 5 years ago, and we are based on a holistic approach to mental health, right? And physical health, spiritual health. So we really aim to bring all those things together. This is how Holistic Healers was kind of born out of this, because I don't ever want to have, there's no way that any one place can have all the things. And so we're very integrative. We are open to anyone and everyone that you're working with, and we do consultations at our clients' approval and release. You know, they have to sign a release to be able to do that. But we really believe that when we're talking with the professionals that you have on board, that you have chosen for your team, if we're connecting and communicating and saying, hey, how are we going to help this person kind of get to their, like, the best version of themselves that they're going for, it can happen more effectively, more efficiently. And so that's a big part of what we do. Presently, like I said, our main things are mental health therapy and Reiki. So we also do some integration with that for those that are interested in doing that. But it's really just something that they come and find. So we at Sage, we believe in a world where you don't just exist to get by, but where you can really just step into that best version of yourself and live in a way that you look back at the end and say that was worth it. That's our goal at Sage. We want people to like feel fully alive. We call it the Feel Alive movement. And we're just on fire for that. Like, we don't want people to just survive and just exist. We want people to learn that they get to have all of those feelings of happiness, joy that they desire. And just sometimes we have to get through some muck to get there. So we call ourselves guides. We're there to guide you along the way because we're comfortable with that term. We think that that's, it's a very collaborative approach. And so that's a little bit about Sage. We
Wow.
love serving our community.
This is what's amazing with what you do, is that you not only provide this wonderful wellness center with Sage Holistic Wellness Center, but also you're providing support to the healers that are actually giving of themselves to others. So it's you're providing the service for both sides.
Yeah,
is what you're doing. So it's a whole complete circle of healing on both, on all levels. So, thank you for what you do, and thank you for being a pillar in the holistic community, and definitely being that resource where people can, seek help, whether you're a healer or whether you're going through something where you need some support. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I received that, and thank you for saying that.
I'm going to give you the last few words here. If you want to say something to the women out there about healing and self-care, I'm going to give you the floor.
Oh my gosh, I get the floor. I think as women, and being, a woman myself, I think it's just so important that we understand that we tend to be overgivers, and that we understand what that even looks like. I feel like we can just keep going through life and we aren't even aware that we're doing that. I'm guilty of that myself. And so I speak from experience, being in that place of like, I've been to burnout and back. I'm sure many listening have. And so we know what that looks like, and that helps us to put our brakes on a little bit, but also just that beautiful way of supporting each other. I mean, I love the work that you do with women, Anne, because there is such this special like soul sister bond when you find your people. So I call myself a community nerd. That's why I do this work with the holistic healers. And that's why I'm so passionate about what we're doing at Sage, is because I believe in the power of community, and that together we're stronger. And I also know that there's a shadow to that. The shadow is like the places that we get to sometimes where we don't want to reach out. We don't want to connect. We don't feel worthy. We don't feel safe. We don't feel heard. We feel like we're too much. There's all of these things that we can feel inside that maybe no one ever even sees. And these are very private and personal feelings that we have. And so my encouragement, if any of you have ever felt that, or if you're in that place right now in your upward cycle, we all kind of come around and then we're fine, but then we go back into some of these places sometimes, is that there are women out there that you can connect with, and to find and seek out those places where you can have those really meaningful soul connections. And so that's my wish for everyone here.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm sure every woman who is listening and watching this appreciates those words of wisdom that you have and the experience and knowledge that you have, because as women, as healers, as mothers, as entrepreneurs, we definitely need support, and we get to ask for help.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely.
So we're going to put all the information that Emily has shared with Holistic Healers of OC and Sage Holistic Health as well, and any other information that she will provide. So we'll give that to you, to all the viewers. And so she is our Reiki Master Teacher Expert. I thank you so much for being with us at Women's Wellness That Works. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
But remember, every woman has her story. What's your story? Until next time, we'll see you again at the next episode of Women's Wellness That Works. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. See you.